everyone, Commander Peter Taggart of the NSEA Protector here with Rhyme Signatures, the nerdiest music review this side of battling a giant rock monster on an alien planet for a fuel-based MacGuffin needed to save the day from total catastrophe. And today we're going to be doing a review of the new Skraeckoedlan album, Vermilion Sky. It has often been talked about that man cannot live on bread alone, and much like mortal men, I cannot subsist on progressive rock alone. One needs variety, choice, and freedom in my music. Now, I enjoy pretty much all genres on a basic level and can find something to enjoy, from experimental IDM to hip-hop, from bluegrass to ambient drone, and in the case of the difficult-to-pronounce correctly Skraeckoedlan, it turns out that I also enjoy sci-fi themed stoner fuzz-rock. When this Swedish quartet reached out to me a few weeks ago, offering me a chance to check them out before the official release of their new record Vermilion Sky, out on March 27th, I must admit I hesitated a little. Their email came to me at a time where I wasn't quite in a position where I wanted to move outside of my usual comfort zone, where I wasn't really ready to explore this kind of music again. So I confess, I sat on the record for a week or two, until one fateful night, after consuming sleep's holy mountain for the 875th time, I remembered that I still hadn't listened to this intriguing upcoming release yet. Now, I would like to sincerely apologise to the band for not checking this one out the second they sent it to me, because had I known what I had been avoiding for these few weeks, I would have beaten my past self to a bloody pulp for his own insolence at what he was missing out on. Yes, folks, Vermilion Sky is absolutely superb and could very well serve as a bridging point for progressive rock fans into the tripped out and intoxicating world of fuzz metal. While it carries itself with all the usual trappings of the type of music you would come to expect from bands like Dozer, Sleep, Yob, and Electric Wizard, it has enough progressive sensibilities in its theming, structure, and presentation to keep it kind of relevant to those who subscribe to the likes of Pink Floyd, King Crimson, and Black Midi. Hailing from Sweden, Vermilion Sky is the band's fourth full-length LP, and the band consists of Tim Ångström on bass, Martin Larsson on drums and backing vocals, Robert Lamu on guitars and lead vocals, and Henrik Grutner on guitars and backing vocals. The band's name is intriguing, having its own little backstory itself, coming from the Swedish title of the monster movie The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. Skraeckoedlan translates as terrifying lizard and is a slightly obsolete word for dinosaur. Ain't etymology fun? Now, while we're on the linguistic side of things, the band does perform exclusively in their native Swedish. And Lamu's delivery reminds me a lot of bands like Motorpsycho. So for anyone familiar with their sound, you're probably going to get quite a lot out of what's going on here vocally. Now, I won't profess to be a master of Swedish. My knowledge extends about as far as Jag läser en tidning and Varför sjöng du inte, so I fear my ability to understand the story within the music is somewhat limited. But the scope and scale of the narrative is still well communicated enough for a linguistic philistine such as myself to get the broad strokes at least. The band's ambition with this project is quite considerable, having been written, recorded, produced and mixed entirely by the band themselves. And given that in their own press release they confess to having to Google things like how to properly mic a snare drum, the end result being mastered by Magnus Lindberg sounds absolutely exquisite. And I feel that special mention must go to the guitar tone throughout. I've never heard a fuzz-based guitar sound this clean before, if that makes any sense. Nothing here feels muddy at all, and it's the overall tonality of the album that really hooked me into it on my first listen. But the band's ambitions don't end on just the music. Oh no, these crazy Swedes have gone one up on their concept with a English novelization being produced of the album, as well as an 8-bit style video game to accompany the release. Vermilion Sky truly does feel more like a multimedia event as much as it does an album release, and while I've only experienced the album so far, I'm certainly looking forward to reading the book and setting a global high score on the game. So, what of the record? Well, honestly, I'll be upfront with you all. For my core audience, those raised on a diet of prog rock and/or death metal, this could potentially be a bit of a hard sell for you. It's tangentially prog insofar that it's a concept album, and it's tangentially metal insofar that it has a substantial serving of excellent riffing, but honestly it's neither of these, despite how much it flirts with both. I would still absolutely urge you to try this one out though, as I do feel that for the genre and niche that this does sit in, it is absolutely one of the most triumphant examples of this kind of music. I find myself eager to play the album again and again after I finish it, and that alone should be a mark of its overall quality, regardless of if this isn't necessarily your kind of daily driver when it comes to music. It isn't mine, but I'm edging on including this in my current top 5 favourite albums of the year. It really is just that good. The atmosphere and the vibe of the record is accentuated perfectly by the intro track of Cosmic Dawn, punctuating the early ethereal vibes with some astronaut voices, before the incredible thick and chunky fuzz comes in underneath, the soaring outer space ideas. It's a great scene setter and is certain to give you an idea if this is going to be the kind of album that you're going to enjoy or not. The first main track of Starsquatch is a big favourite for me, making me think of big sci-fi epics like Interstellar with its atmospheric synth, before the massive black hole thunder of the instrumentation kicks in. It is dense, it's lumbering, it's dripping in the kind of larger-than-life themes and ideas that you'd expect from an album with this kind of galaxy-spanning narrative to have. Robert Lamu's vocals are methodical and well-paced, with a deliberateness to his enunciation that's honestly just so appealing aesthetically. Around 3 minutes 40 we get a taste of just how dirty the riffing is on this album. I challenge you not to sink back into your seat and nod your head slowly to the monstrous assault of the guitars going on. It is just magic. And when the riffs fire up again at around 5 minutes 50, I feel like I'm in outer space. I feel like I'm drifting amongst the stars and I'm helpless to the sounds around me. But we've still got a whole ass rest of the album though. Clocking in at 48 minutes across 8 tracks, Vermilion Sky is brilliantly paced, never giving you the chance to feel bored or unengaged by the music, and Mysteria serves as a slice of immediacy that's not often felt within this kind of music. It's punchy, it's fast, it's hooky, and it's another favourite on an album where it's becoming difficult to pick the tracks that you like more than the others. The album really picks up in intensity from the title track though, with the first few songs almost serving as your introduction to outer space, before everything starts exploding around you in typical Hollywood disaster movie fashion. The band really do start to bring out the S-tier riffs on this one, and honestly this is what I appreciate so much about this album. We don't need complex musicianship for this to hit as hard as it does. The riffs are ostensibly simple, but it's how well put together they are, and how well the tone lands, and how the sum of the parts of everyone working together just sounds so warming, so complete and satisfying. It's hard to imagine this song especially not hitting anyone who values music as an art form square in the chest with the force of a pneumatic drill. The back half of the album is an absolute powerhouse, with Metagalactic Void Honcho forming the longest and arguably most enjoyable song on the record. At 8 minutes and 7 seconds long, the band aren't afraid to find its hook reasonably early on and make you grin like an idiot every single time it rises back up into the foreground of the track. I've spoken quite a bit about the riffing on this album, but this is the one. This is the track I would point people to if they weren't certain. It absolutely rips. It's such an infectious and enjoyable groove that manages to rise in my estimations every time I hear it. You'll know the riff when it happens, and I will wager it'll get stuck in your head just as much as it did mine. We follow up with the 2 shortest tracks on the album, which I would argue are perfect singles bait. Night Satan and Meteorb both allow the band to scale back down the atmospherics for a bit, close the curtains on the infinity of outer space for a while, and focus on some more intense, catchier and mainstream sounding material. And it works out incredibly well. These are the kind of snappy, immediate tracks to hype you back up after the ponderous and slow-moving songs that came before it, before we move into the final push with Astronautilus. The second longest track on the album, at just shy of 8 minutes, we are given an immediate sense of closure, of finality, and the build-up to something explosive. There's this sense of purpose about the music, like it knows the narrative is drawing up to the big payoff, and everything climaxes in an enormously satisfying fashion. Everyone here is pushing forward the finale. It's heroic, it's driven and satisfying in ways I simply wasn't expecting. Now, while I wouldn't say the tone of this song caught me off guard per se, it certainly wasn't how I anticipated the album to close out, but I am grateful that this is the angle the band ended up going for. It's hard not to imagine a frenzied crowd in a small intimate venue getting ridiculously hyped up when they hear the opening few bars of this song. Once you've gotten familiar with it, it's one of those songs where in the dying seconds of Meteorb, you'll start getting goosebumps with knowing what's coming. Astronautilus is a fantastic way to close off an album that virtually has no real faults whatsoever to be found across its running time. And as it closes out, all I want to do is smash the play button again and start my trip into outer space all over. So, what else can I say about Skraeckoedlan's Vermilion Sky? I'll be honest guys, this kind of music is generally my once-in-a-while treat and not the sort of thing that I listen to on a sort of regular basis. I'm not an expert of fuzz-driven stoner rock, but I certainly know good music when I hear it. And Vermilion Sky is absolutely exceptional. The band are clearly very comfortable with how they work together, having remained a solid, unyielding and unchanged unit since their formation, which I believe has allowed them to really explore each other's qualities and what works best for them as a band, to create what I consider, from my limited experience, to be a future genre classic that honestly cannot afford to be missed. Payday is coming soon, and I will be dropping some cash on these guys for a physical copy of this one. I love supporting bands who have genuinely moved me, and I really hope that some of you watching this will push past your comfort zone and give this record a try. It might not be for you, and that's totally cool, but if you're going to give this kind of music a shot, then I really do think that Vermilion Sky could serve as the starting gun for a beautiful friendship between you and a fuzz pedal. This is, guys, of course, all just my opinion. Please do check out the record when it comes out on March 27th and let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below. If you did like this video, please do give it a thumb. Please do share it around with anyone else who you think would possibly enjoy it. And as always, please do consider subscribing to the channel for more content. My link tree will be left down below, as always, where you will find the various places to find me on social media. So please do drop me a follow if you want to see more about my daily exciting life and adventures outside of YouTube. But until next time, guys, as always, keep your rhyme signatures pretty dang odd.